I'm Scott Munn along with Tug Coward, and today on the Warrior Line Spotlight, we're excited to talk with a 20-year Marine Corps veteran about her efforts to help veterans like you find a pathway to an outstanding life in their civilian communities. Dr. Stacey Dixon is the Director of Military and Veteran Services at Kennesaw State University, where Dixon assists over 2,000 military-connected students and their families. Dr. Dixon enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1984 and moved into meteorology and oceanography, where she became the very first female METOC officer. Dixon served as the executive officer for the Marine Wing Support Squadron 374 at Marine Air Ground Task Force, the team lead at METOC during West Pacific operations, a senior drill instructor, weapons and tactics instructor for combined arms exercises, the casualty assistance officer, and was the command lead for remote METOC operations in Afghanistan. So, amazing service record. Dixon retired as a prestigious Chief Warrant Officer 3 and eventually went home to Chicago before moving to Georgia to help veterans right here at Kennesaw State. So let's get some expert coaching on making the successful transition from military service to civilian life from Dr. Stacey Dixon of Kennesaw State University. Welcome to the Warrior Alliance Network.
Thank you for having me.
Goodness, thank you for being here. It's such a pleasure to talk with someone with such a distinguished career. And you went from enlisted to CWO3. Talk about that military experiences. Were there any challenges that you faced in the service, and how did you end up where you are?
Well, you can imagine I joined the Marine Corps in 1984. I was following my brother who joined several years before me.
God bless him.
And he, like most Marines at the time, did not like females in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
So it was very difficult in that transition. I think the easiest part was actually boot camp, where you were around all the women. But as soon as we left boot camp, there was a lot of adjusting to do because you're part of the team, but you're not. So you had to make your own way, find your own way, or find that group of people you can feel connected to. But, as you grow in the service, as I was growing in the Marine Corps, I learned to pick those people who were going to, support me and
Sure.
mentor me and help me grow. There were many times after each enlistment, I was like, nope, that's it. I'm going. That's it. I've had enough. But
And then something would pull you back
something would pull me back. There will always be some senior, usually the sergeant major or someone that's like, no, you could do this, I said, well, I wanted to go back to school at the time. And he was like, well, you can do that. So he, back then, we actually had 100% tuition paid if your command will let you. So whenever I could take a class or something, that's what I was doing. I had a family young, so I was doing that too. We were dual service members at first, and then I became a single parent. And I think that helped ground me a little bit, trying to raise children, deploying, and all the other stuff that comes with that.
I don't know how you balance that. I really don't.
As I look back, I don't either.
Right.
I just think I was just crazy.
It's amazing what the Marine Corps will instill in you and that ability that it gives you.
Right, to internalize that and say, yeah, I did this because I had to do this, but it happened, and it was, it worked out. Wasn't all these cookies, but it was definitely a time. So even my mentor, even my brother, he kind of gave me that false negative motivation. Oh, you'll never make it to sergeant. Oh, you'll never see staff sergeant.
Oh, no.
That kind of thing. But every time he said that, I just pushed it forward.
A little chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Got a reason to succeed.
I'm going to keep going. But I think that was his way of making sure I was going to be okay.
I love that. It probably was challenging in the moment, but that was just his way. It didn't make it the right way or the wrong way necessarily, but that was his way of motivating you, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit of a sibling rivalry.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
A short clip, we were stationed together for a short stint, and he was my NCOIC. I was just a little lance corporal. And he made my life miserable. I used to call my mother and say, can you please tell him to leave me alone? Like, we're in North Carolina, calling home to mom to say, can you tell him to leave me alone?
Oh, man.
But, I think that negative, it did push me because I was a little nerd from Chicago joining the Marine Corps. And so I think, and he knew that, so I think that was just his way.
Can I go back and ask then why? I know you said it was the family reason and you wanted to follow in his footsteps, but was there ever any thought of joining another branch?
No.
No, it was always Marine Corps, full steam ahead?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. I love it.
What was it about the Marine Corps that drew you in besides the family heritage and all that? Was there something special about that branch?
Well, I think it was my brother, because as a child he was sickly. He wasn't a well child, but to see him go into the Marine Corps and become the person he was, and it just like he just made a whole transformation, and I wanted to see that for myself. Like I said, I come from a family of 8. I know the funds was not going to be there to go to school full time, so I was just looking for different avenues. And as he did, he went to school while he was serving as well. So I was like, well, maybe this is my avenue to go. So my sister joined the Army, so I was like, nope, I'm not doing the Army.
Not a chance.
Nope. But
what is your relationship like now with your brother?
sadly, he passed away a few years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that. Prior to, great relationship?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Because he got ill, and that was one of the reasons why I went back to Chicago. But it was just the connection we had being the Marines. So he didn't want to listen to anyone else but get my sister here.
I love that.
So I used to fly back and forth from California to Chicago. Kansas was where he was. And I was the only one like yell at him like a recruit, and it just brought those things back for him, and he enjoyed it. So
yeah, Scott, can you imagine that? So you have the bonds of your sibling, right? I mean, obviously that's the most important bond, but then you also have the Marine Corps. I mean, that's like welded steel. Ain't nothing getting through that.
I know, and I think you probably used some of those drill sergeant skills when you a little later in life when you were giving it back to them. And you evened the scales a little bit there. At the end,
I even brought my campaign cover one time.
Oh, right. There you go. I'd love to see it.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
What were some of the most impactful parts of your Marine service, and how did that prepare you for when you were out of the military, when you were a civilian?
I think the most impactful, well, there was a lot of them, but being a drill instructor and just helping to mold these women into, and knowing what I had already gone through, and just to, give them some guidance and some ideas and thoughts. Because rarely do you see another woman that went to boot camp with you. And I may have saw 2 in that whole 21 years.
Wow. Most
women get out early. They don't make it to retirement. But from the boot camp, when I went in 1984, maybe 2 women I saw through those 21 years. So I was always molding. I was doing it in a way, but trying to mold the young women. So when you get out there, this is what it's going to be like. This is what you need to think about. Maybe you could just try something different. Make sure you're connecting with people, and you got a mentor out there to help guide you through the process of becoming a Marine, or
whatever it is that what you want to be, whatever it is, even after you get out of the Marine Corps. Yeah.
So,
was there a sense of pride in the women's barracks? Maybe a "we're going to show them" kind of attitude. Was there any kind of vibe like that you led, like a "we can do it" kind of?
Well, yeah, that was always. We had a very strong team, and when you have, it's all the team of women. So, because we were the only branch that wasn't integrated, they just want integration, integrated males and females, but. It was just to make sure, we could do the same thing they're doing. We're doing the same thing they're doing. So we got to go to the rifle range. We're going to train you the same way they train in the men. So don't see it as a separation, because we're doing the same thing as the men are. We're just doing it in different spaces. So I think knowing that, because we did graduate with them, and we went to Crucible with them, with the males, so we were all intermixed at that point. And for the females to see that, we're keeping up in these humps, or we can carry the same pack load, and, we're doing all the same things. We're going through this warrior training just like they are. Some of the men don't make it.
Yeah, and that carried over into your civilian life, too, I think, because you had a nothing can stop me kind of attitude. And something that happens with a lot of veterans when they transition from military service to the civilian career, they kind of have to pivot, or they decide to pivot, because the first thing that they choose or run into or opportunity that they get maybe doesn't always work out or isn't the right fit. And I read that you transitioned from, first you went into the financial service industry out in California, and then you moved into higher education. What brought around that career pivot for you?
Well, my first thing was after I retired, I had to go back to school. So I went and got my MBA, and I was talking to the professor, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do with this. He said, well, let's just keep pushing forward. We're going to go through some different avenues. And he was a retired sergeant major himself, so he said, what are you good at? I was like, well, obviously science, math. So when we were talking about MBA, he said, well, look into the financial side of it. So I got my MBA in finance, but I also went to Edward Jones, they picked me up quickly, put me through their 6-month program, and then just threw me out there. And it was great for a while. I learned so much. But again, my brother was sick, so I knew I had to get back home. But one of the things I learned about the financial industry, and I do still teach and mentor other people in that, is I was more like a babysitter for people's money. And I didn't, especially the time I was there, it was during the 2007, 2008 time.
Yeah, with the housing crisis.
Yes,
And,
so it got crazy. So I knew I had to find another avenue. And someone, just the same professor, said, well, what do you think about teaching? So I said, well, when I get home, I'll see what's out there. And someone immediately connected me to a junior ROTC program in Chicago. And I just started teaching. I went back to California, packed my stuff, and started teaching.
That drill instructor came right back on.
Right.
It did.
Top 2.
There
Let's
you
go.
And now you've been called to service at KSU here at here at Kennesaw State University, and I guess you support veterans there. Tell us about how you're doing that. I mean, you got a special role. It's amazing that they even have a director of military and veteran services at Kennesaw State. Tell us about the role and what you're doing to help veterans.
Well, the program itself is to support military connected students. I have a small but mighty team, transition coordinator, and outreach and program coordinator. We also have a BA rep on the campus. We're the only school in Georgia that has BA representation on the campus. So those students with the disabilities can talk directly to a rep. But what we do, because it's not me, we want to provide, over the last 2 years, we provided and created services that and programming that military students want. The fact that we learned that most of our students are the spouses and the children, we had to strategically rethink our plan. So we do have like separate programming. We're always going to celebrate, like this week we're having a military recognition dinner for those who are graduating, and we do this every semester. But we want to have them to have a space where they can come in and just, mingle with people with similar experiences. We also help them with resources. Like anytime we've had a few students that we've had to refer to the Warrior Alliance. So, and 2 of them just recently reached back to me and said, thank you for sending me there, because she was in a dire strait. But I said, understand it's a process, but we're going to get you through it. They will get you through it. So we also provide scholarships. We partnered with several organizations like the Marine Corps League, American Legion, the Marine Corps Coordinators Council, which they all provide scholarships for our military connected students, including the spouses and the dependents, because we do have one now, and we're working on several others, because we had 65 students in need last year for a scholarship just to graduate. It's just their last term, and we didn't have the funding for that. So doing a lot of outreach there. And we also want students to know that the leadership at KSU is 100%, 110% on board with what we're doing. I advise them on the things we're doing. I get the support that we need, and they show up and they support, and they want to know what else can we do to help. So we're still growing the program. This team has only been in place for 2 years. So when we arrived here 2 years ago, we had 1,500 students on the roster. Now we have 2,100.
Wow.
So, and it's continuing to grow. So
that's great news. Dr. Dixon, I want to ask you about, because you've given so many reasons that veterans would feel welcome and succeed at KSU. What are some other reasons? Like, if somebody's listening right now, they're thinking about going to school, they're trying to choose between online schools, why should they choose KSU? I mean, you've given us a bunch, but I bet there's plenty more.
Well, KSU is really growing, number one. It's a phenomenal school for support in all aspects. They really believe in diversity, and they really want to get into the realm of military connected students. We do transfer credits, so if you're thinking about transferring to a program, you got the counselors and the advisors that will sit down with you with those transfer credits. We're working on getting the program in the school for resume writing, because that's another big issue for our students.
Yeah, just understanding how to do it. Because yes. I know when I went through TAP program to get out of the Navy, at the time, because I was pre-9/11, I got out in 2000, and TAP was just, It was sign the paper that you did it. There wasn't a lot to it, and I know it's much better than it was.
Yes.
But I bet there's plenty of pre 9/11 veterans that are like, man, I could use this help that Dr. Dixon's talking about.
Yes, and we do financial literacy courses. We bring in organizations from out in the community to come talk to them, mental health. We have a team on the campus called AIMS. They do all the research on resiliency and mental health issues and concerns. So we just work with everybody we can to create that atmosphere. We're building out a lounge because we have offices on both campuses, but we want them to feel they're at home. They're back in, or you're back on the base and you're hanging out with, your fellow Marine or soldier or
sailor.
But the environment, we're trying to create that environment, that welcoming environment. Also, our team is all military connected. So myself, the VA representative, she's a dependent. We got a Coast Guard, we got another dependent, and we have VA work study students, so we can offer them some sort of income while they're going to school. So we have a mixture of dependent children working in office as well as veterans. And I love that combination because they get to talking and they get to learn from each other. We also connected with the ROTC program, so we're working with them and bringing the students in. So, because we don't know where they're going to be in the next 2 or 3 years, so we're trying to build that mentorship program as well.
Yeah, as a former dependent, Army brat, I got to say that's so important to have other dependents that you can work with, because the same as you feel about working with veterans, that's kind of the number one personality that I relate to is another former dependent, and the fact that you're integrating the family into this whole program is really great. And you were telling me before the show that now people can transfer their benefits to family members, and that's a new development, right?
Yes, as of 2013, I want to correct me if I'm wrong, the military member can now transfer their benefit to the spouse or the child. And the child will use that benefit for school education or living costs, whatever they need.
Well, that just seems like it should have always been that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, for a long time, a dependent was looked at as a unit on post. It was not a person necessarily. It was somebody we had to provide for. Yeah, but then that's changed in the culture,
as it should.
And then we're changing it in the post-military service culture here at the Warrior Alliance.
Yes.
So speaking of the Warrior Alliance, Kennesaw State University has recently become a community partner with the Warrior Alliance. How's that working out for you, and is it supporting your veteran population? And you mentioned earlier a couple of success stories. Is it helping with recruitment at all? And just tell us all about the partnership and how it's working for you.
Well, I love the partnership. Mark was one of the first people that reached out to me when I came on board. I'm like, what is this Warrior Alliance? What do y'all do? Because, there's a lot of programs out there that But we sat down, we talked, met with Olivia a few times, and then, he just said, I would love to partner with KSU. And I said, I was going to say the same thing. So I found it's a community. The Warrior Alliance is a community, because it's not just the people here in this building. They're connected to
everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And connecting us to those everybody's helps us get the other resources that, the Warrior Alliance may not be able to provide at the time. It also helps us to get to know what else do we need to be doing for the students, because we don't have all the answers. So talking to the Warrior Alliance and going through, I know 2 of my coordinators were trained in the process of intake. So, and being able to immediately respond to the students' needs at that time. But the Warrior Alliance has really helped us to just grow the program. They really helped us to grow the program and connect us in the community. So that's one of the things, and those connections are making a world of a difference. So
relationships are what everything in life is built on.
You can't do it alone.
Yeah, no, you can't. And that's the beauty of what the Warrior Alliance does, is they use their relationships to get us all connected where we need to be.
Right.
And I think people miss this a lot with the Warrior Alliance. They think immediately that it is a veteran that is distressed or in need, and it is that. But it's also veterans who just don't realize what options they have, what opportunities they have, what they're owed from the VA, from their service. And they do that too.
Yes.
If you have a question about anything post-service, you can find an answer at the Warrior Lines.
Yes.
And I know that's what y'all run into at KSU.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, no.
And you know what, Tug? I like what you said there, Dr. Dixon. I heard you say we don't have all the answers, and that's the sign of an outstanding leader, recognizing that you don't have all the answers, and then teaming up with people to find the answers.
Right.
And that's something that sort of the Warrior Alliance is trying to do on a macro level, but also on a micro level. I think it's important for veterans out there to hear that and listen to it from your drill instructor right here, Dr. Dixon, because
That's right.
because you don't have all the answers, even though we're trained to think that we do. You don't know what you don't know. So just go to thewarrioralliance.org and sign up and find out what kind of options are going to open up to you. You might find yourself enrolled at Kennesaw State or something like that, you know?
Well, and as a matter of fact, what kind of message would you have for veterans that are unsure about taking that next step with their education, using their GI Bill or using whatever money and resources that they have? What would you say to them to help them navigate to success after service?
They have to start planning early. I just came out and, things kind of worked out for me a little bit, but you have to start planning early. I said, don't dip into the pot until you have an idea of what you want to do. Because a lot of our veterans, they come out, they just go to school. And then they run out long before they graduate. So get the advice. Come to the office. Let us sit you down with some academic advisors or sit and talk to us. We're all military connected, so we can give you some ideas about what
direction to head. Yeah, what direction to head.
Because I don't want to say which way to go.
Yeah,
I can't tell you that.
Well, no, but great advice for people in their particular situation. Some of the skills that they already have, maybe that they earned in the military, and you're like, I know where those plug in. Yeah, that's great.
And that is the key. Use your skills and your experiences, not necessarily skills, because everybody who serves have leadership skills. I don't care what level you were at. I always hate to hear, I was just a Lance Corporal. I was just in 4 years. You served, and you gained something from that. So
there's value.
Yeah, there's value, and you got to take that internally and see what you're capable of. And what else can you do? There's a lot of things out here. So, and there's a lot of support, more support than when I came out. So.
And you're providing it for a lot of people.
Yes.
So you're taking what you didn't have and providing it and turning it into that resource that others will because of what you've already experienced. So we congratulate you on that and admire you a lot for that too.
And the director of the Warrior Alliance, Scott Johnson, was telling me that they're working on a system where they're going to take military skills and draw direct lines to skills in civilian workforce, and they're coming up with like a plan for basically you come in, you say, you go to thewarrioralliance.org, you sign up, and they're going to have a way for you to just say everything that you did in your service, and then they'll translate that for you into civilian world. And I bet you have some things like that going on in your program as well, right?
That would be amazing. Not to that extent, but yes, we want to connect them to, like we work with Hiring Heroes and other organizations like that to, they can work with them.
Yeah.
Just don't jump into the pool first. Let's find out what you want and where we're going.
Right.
And then we can take care of the rest of the stuff on the other end.
I think that's key, though, because most people don't realize that you can even do that there's a resource, Scott, where you can go and ask before you even buy the first book or you use the money to, go in the first class. And that way the money doesn't go to waste.
Yeah, it might save you a lot of time and energy to huddle at headquarters before you go out and take on the mission,
Exactly.
Right?
You formed it well.
Yeah.
And like I always tell them, well, I don't need any help. I said, did you serve alone?
Yeah, right. Of course you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
And we all do.
Point. Yeah.
Point to somebody that doesn't need a helping hand somewhere in their life or even every day.
Right.
And Dr. Dixon, I want to ask you about the value of a college education. And I know that you have a lot of higher education, a Bachelor of Arts in Natural Science and Math from Thomas Edison College, an MBA from National University in San Diego. You got your doctorate from, is it Argosy? Argosy University in Chicago. See, I obviously needed more schooling. You even have a professional and life coach certificates from the World Coaching Institute. So there's a lot of talk these days about the price of attending college versus the value of it, and maybe that some folks should just go start work right away. What about the value of higher education? What do you think about that?
Again, it's going to go back to what you want to do, because there's still a lot of programs that military education benefits will pay for, that you don't have to get the higher education.
Like tech schools?
Like tech schools and trade schools.
Yes, which are huge right now.
Yes. So I think at some point you're going to need some additional education, whether it's a certificate or a degree. And again, we have a lot of students coming out now that they're going into the cybersecurity program because most military are getting cybersecurity training. So I would think, yes, that's going to elevate you to the next level because we just had a young lady. She was my transition coordinator. She got her degree in cybersecurity. Bam, she was off doing what she got her degree in. And that's the other focus. We want to make sure you're getting into a program which is going to carry you forward into a sustainable career, not just a job, but something that you're going to enjoy doing so it doesn't feel like you're going to work every day, and that, it's going to be sustainable for you and the family. So I think higher education is important. How far you want to go with it is going to depend on where you want to go in life. My degree, the doctorate degree, was primarily as a gift to my stepdad. So it wasn't something that I was really driven to do. It was a promise that I made. But I'm grateful for it because it opened up so many other doors for me, like doing the coaching. It's just a stigma on that. How are you going to talk to me and you didn't do it? So some of the things I took away from that, and I had some great professors, and my degree is in education and organizational leadership. So I took what I already knew and put it into that degree, and then I go out here and use it. So in various different ways, and mostly volunteer, but it's still helpful for me. Is therapeutic even. So I think just looking at what you want to do and how far you want to go in that field is the importance of higher education.
We're lucky to have you on the show, and folks are lucky to learn from you over at Kennesaw State. Thank you, Dr. Dixon, for taking the time. You're always welcome. Director of Military and Veteran Services over at KSU. Hooty-hoo, go Owls.
Go Owls.
Yeah, and thank you for your service to our country and your continuing service to our country. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
God bless you, ma'am.
Thank you.